They named them the Alvani, eight-limbed, silver-skinned, with voices that crackled like static mixed with acid. Before the war, hardly any human even knew they existed. Hell, neither did I, and I'd done 5 tours out on the rim. But when they arrived, there were no greetings, no transmissions, no warning, just fire and death. Their first strike fell on Clio 9, a terraforming colony barely 10 years old. My brother was there. He was a survey lead. Bright mind, soft hands, a man who couldn't fight his way out of a bar. When the Alvani came, they didn't just kill. They performed it. Broadcast executions across open channels, decorated outposts, with our dead like grotesque trophies. My brother, I got the feed. They ripped him apart, piece by piece. I watched once. Only once. That was enough. The UHF, the United Human Forces, moved too slow. Delays, debates, committees. But the veterans, the old war dogs like me, we didn't wait. We signed the black line, no records, no rules, kill squads. No talks, no treaties, only payback. Our boots hit Lorax's prime, one of their border worlds. 6 months after Clio 9's ashes cooled, they thought distance made them safe. Wrong. We cared plenty. The way we'd been taught, hard, fast, no hesitation. Lorax's shimmered, the air alive with strange pollen. 2 suns lit the horizon, almost beautiful. Could have been a fine human colony if not for the bastards stacking shrines from our bones. We dropped with 2 companies. No tanks, no mechs, no orbital guns. This wasn't conquest. This was a warning. We carried Gen 6 plasma hybrids, old, but strong enough to burn through Alvani armor with a double shot. They were taller, faster, all insect grace, but their blood ran red. That's all that mattered. Our first night, we wiped an outpost. No survivors, their shrieks carried into the hills. They used to chant in that static tongue, eerie as hell. After our strike, silence. We left their corpses in heaps, torched their banners, branded the soil with our own blood. None of us claimed heroics. We were angry, broken, and finished with the Council's diplomacy. Every man had lost someone. Some had lost everything. This was no campaign. It was revenge. Worst of all, they hadn't even considered us dangerous. Not really. Their high priest, glowing plates for armor, laughed as we stormed his command hall. Laughed until O'Hara jammed a grenade between his jaws and pulled the pin. No sermons, just dust. After that, panic set in. But humans? We don't run. Not from them. We hounded them over 12 worlds, raised their records, strangled their supply lines, gutted their breeding pits. They bred by implanting larvae in living hosts. And their test subjects? Human civilians. Children. We found the vids. That's when extermination began. Command recalled us after week 3. Humanity has proven its resolve. We ignored it. We weren't finished. They'd chosen the wrong species to provoke. We weren't saviors. That illusion burned with the children of Clio 9. Somewhere along the way, war ended and execution began. The Alvani scattered across moons and barren systems, broken swarms fleeing the fire. They weren't weak. They simply had never faced hate like ours. Other races fight for land, for creed, for survival. Humans fight for the fallen. And when we do, we erase everything that dared to take them. We were 34 now. Began at 120. The rest, ash, glass, or drifting among the stars. Charred wastelands where forests once stood. No reinforcements, no medevac. You dropped, you stayed. Black line oath. I still recall Zendrak 4, frozen world. Winds slicing like blades. It barely showed on maps. Just a fuel stop and prison for Alvani dissidents. We expected light resistance. Wrong. Hives burrowed under ice. Organic tech, spined husks that pulsed like organs, bled when hit. The defense wasn't orderly. It was trapped. desperate. That made them lethal. Davis and Corin fell before surface entry. Davis caught a spitter slug. Corrosive muck ate half his chest before he even screamed. Corin vanished down a shaft. Later, we recovered her arm. She'd etched a smiley face on her sleeve, said it reminded her of Earth. I kept it. Still do. No idea why. In the tunnels, we uncovered worse than soldiers. Breeding pits. Thousands. Of human bodies, some still twitching. Their eyes, alive until we cut the tubes. Our people kept breathing as larvae burrowed into them, hollowing out organs, feeding slow. O'Hara puked. First time I'd seen him break. Hard bastard. Tougher than steel. But this, it cracked him. We cleansed the chambers with fire, not plasma. Old school flamers. It wasn't killing anymore. It was burning evil away. After that, the hunt changed. Revenge shifted into something darker. Eradication. We didn't just want them dead. We wanted their stain erased, some pleaded. Not in our tongue, but begging sounds the same in any. We ignored it. One straggler, we nicknamed him Bones, was the last survivor on Zendrak. Thin, wrong-jointed. When we caught him, he dropped his gun and sank to his knees, like he accepted it, like he was ready. Mercy, he rasped through the translator. I stared. Mercy had died 3 planets back. O'Hara shot him clean through the skull. Some men started etching notches into their armor for each kill. Some ran out of space. Not me. I kept mine. Clear. But I remembered every face, especially the ones that grinned while butchering our own. They tried for peace again on the 11th world. A last, pathetic envoy landed a shuttle by our Hark's prime forward line, waving white plasma signals. We let them down, let them speak. They babbled about shared lands, coexistence, amnesty for atrocities. Atrocities. They wanted us guilty, for fighting back, for refusing to roll over like the rest. I remember the look on their faces when I told them our demands. Total surrender. Every world, every system. Hand over your leaders in chains, let us decide their deaths. Then, give us your ships, your weapons, your technology. Become nothing. Then maybe, we let a few of your children survive as a reminder. They refused, naturally. Pride carried them to the end. So we leveled the envoy. No survivors. After that, no more peace missions. They understood. When they had nowhere left to retreat, they fell back to their core, Alvior, the jewel of their empire, their holy world, untouched for millennia. Not even allies dared enter without ritual. We weren't allies. We didn't care for rights. We came heavy, weapons hot, ships running dark. They resisted with fury. Orbital batteries, ion cannons strong enough to crack moons. We lost 5 dropships. 40 men, my arm shredded by shrapnel, stitched back with synth mesh. Didn't matter. We reached ground. What greeted us was magnificent, in their way. Not like Earth's rivers or skies. No. Alvar was magnificent in arrogance. Spires of bone alloy, oceans of obsidian, idols of kings and gods, every inch proclaiming, "We cannot fall." We burned it all. We made them watch. We found their young, their schools, their brood chambers. Some men hesitated, looked my way. I gave a single nod. Burn. Erase them. By then, it wasn't revenge. It was doctrine. City by city, they collapsed. They unleashed everything, gas, psychic storms, suicide thralls. We didn't flinch. Men with nothing left can't be frightened. Their final stronghold was a temple bastion beneath the capital. Old. Sacred. There we found their queen, or whatever their hive called ruler. She spoke, tried spinning myths of kinship, claimed humans and Alvani shared ancient roots, twin. Destinies. I let her finish. Then Royce shot her through the throat. No speeches, no mercy, just another corpse. The last image broadcast from Alvaor showed us, blood-soaked, grinning before the ruins. I stared at the lens and said, You wanted to know human fury. Look around. Imagine what happens to the next species that tests us. Then we cut the feed. Afterward, only mopping up. Pockets of fighters that crumbled in hours. They were finished. Not just their armies, but their culture, their legacy. Extinct before the UHF tried reasserting command. Their fleets arrived full of envoys and mediators. They found only ash, bones, smoke curling from a civilization's corpse. And us? Gone already. Black Line never waits for gratitude. We vanish. They say annihilation echoes. They're right. 4 months since Al-Vaor turned to dust. 4 months since the Alvani vanished. No colonies, no stations, no fleets, no survivors. Only ruins and bone fields. Mission accomplished. The monsters who heard ours, erased. But the silence after, that was worse. None of us went home. Not really. Most had no homes left. Earth felt unreal, a dreamland of rain, flowers, and taxes. After what we saw, what we did, returning felt obscene. Like poisoning a nursery. Some tried. Shaved, dressed neat, flew back to false normality. I heard from a few. One shot himself after 3 weeks. Another beat his neighbor near to death when fireworks echoed outside his flat. The war never left us. It followed everywhere. I drifted the frontier, moving from world to world. No orders, no chain, just me and patched ships. I'd looted enough during the purges to live soft. But comfort was for sleepers. I didn't sleep. Nightly, the same visions. The Queen's last gaze before Royce's bullet, hatchlings writhing in flames, Zendra's corpse piles. No regret. That was the part that froze me. Not guilt, just hollow calm. Deep in the core, politicians debated endlessly. The tribunal opened cases, ethics boards, inquiries, arguments about limits and consequences. They didn't live what we lived. They never breathed hive stench, never saw family butchered live on screen, never waded through 12 burning worlds. They wanted explanations. We gave silence. Black Line never speaks. That was our code. We didn't justify. We didn't confess. We just slipped into history like smoke fading off a battlefield. But the galaxy, oh, it felt us. The shockwave carried farther than we imagined. Civilizations that once mocked humans as fragile, diplomatic, backward, suddenly went quiet. Borders once alive with skirmishes turned to neutral ground. Trade flowed without contest. Pirate raids dropped 60% in human lanes. They didn't fear our ships. They didn't fear our governments. They feared us. Because once you erase a species without pause, people remember. It didn't matter that the Alvani struck first, that they raised Clio 9, tortured civilians, bred their spawn in human children. None of that mattered. The galaxy only saw humanity crossing a line too far. And that was exactly what we wanted etched in memory. Whispers spread. Outer colonies called us ghost men. Others, the flame of Earth. I didn't care which name survived, only that they never forgot what we could do again. One day, an old code transmission reached me. Few still had Black Line channels. I thought we were scattered, buried. The message was simple. Another one. Not Alvani, worse. You in? No signature. Didn't need one. I stared at that cursor for an hour, like it was a trigger. I could refuse, vanish into obscurity, pretend at peace. But peace was a fairy tale. War. That was the tongue I spoke. My reply was 2 words. Send coordinates. The trail led to dead space, a place named Corinth Belt, a toxic system absent from most charts. I retrofitted a freighter, scrubbed the ID. Not that UHF patrols. Wandered this deep, forgotten. When I arrived, they were waiting. 6 ships, 6 shadows. O'Hara, Royce, Tenor, even Bishop. Thought he died at Mars. Guess not. They were older, colder. Royce's face was half steel. Bishop leaned on a plasma brace. None of us smiled. O'Hara stepped forward. You saw it? I nodded. They're called the Canary. Never heard of them. Worse than the Alvani, he said, then tossed a chip across the table. Watch. I did. Grainy, but clear. A human research vessel, crew of scientists, unarmed, boarded by translucent things with segmented limbs. No demands, no warning, just dissection, vivisections, flesh welded into grotesque forms, nerve webs harvested, Clio 9 reborn. Only this, time. No broadcast, no declaration, just silence, as if we were beneath notice. Royce spat. Same nightmare, new monsters. Tenor snarled. We strike now, before they even know humans exist. But Bishop shook his head. Not like last time. The Canary aren't centralized. They're scattered, hidden, shadows, no capital to burn. I turned to O'Hara. So how do you fight an enemy with no throne? He met my stare. You burn the dark itself. The galaxy doesn't need saviors. It needs monsters with chains. And once again, humanity was boiling. That never ends. Well, for anyone else. The Canary didn't raise cities. They built laboratories. That's how we tracked them, by following screams. It started with twisted distress calls, not beacons, but warped signals, interference gnawing the frequencies, nearly untraceable. UHF wrote them off. Too many anomalies, unverifiable. We didn't. We knew that kind of silence. The first lab showed up on VAR 17, a forgotten moon orbiting a gas giant. No colonists, no records, just old mining scars, radiation storms, and dead space. A perfect graveyard for secrets no one wanted found. We slipped in low, cloaked, engines cold, radios dead. 6 ships, 6 shadows. O'Hara and I led, threading a side canyon beneath the storm line. Lightning shattered the sky every few heartbeats, clawing jagged silhouettes across the cliffs. VAR didn't welcome us. Good. We weren't there to be welcomed. At first glance, the place wasn't a lab at all, just a derelict ore refinery. Rust choked, half caved in, but buried underneath, something different waited, something that breathed. We blasted through upper bulkheads, dropped 20 meters into a shaft that reeked of rot and acid. Walls fused steel with meat, twitching veins, floors that exhaled. O'Hara muttered, voice small. I didn't ask. I knew. This wasn't research. This was violation. Inside, pieces of the crew remained, what hadn't already been built into the walls. The Canary didn't merely kill. They recycled. Human torsos carved open, wired into obscene living machines, eyes soldered into surveillance grids, nerves lashed into crude switches, brain stems floating in nutrient glass, howling without air. Royce broke first, vomiting. Even he couldn't hide it. I remember staring at one tank, a girl's face no more than 15. Her eyes darted, blinking with a slow, programmed rhythm. On the glass, a label burned in alien glyphs, non-sentient, no threat, reusable. I emptied my rifle into it, then every other tank. We found their scientist below. If it was a scientist. It had no mouth, just a vertical slit in place of features. Eyes along its skull, skin translucent, green fluid pulsing within. It carried no weapon. It only watched. When we advanced, it didn't fight. I leveled my rifle, stared into that slit. Why? I asked. The translator faltered, then delivered, human structure, versatile, adaptable, valuable for advanced constructs. No regret, no fear, just assessment. Livestock. Royce fired before I could. It collapsed into steaming shards of fluid. We burned. Everything, lab, walls, chambers, then sealed the canyon with controlled charges. VAR 17 was marked contaminated, ringed in warnings. But the stain was already spreading. That lab was not alone. A month bled out in chaos. We hunted anomalies. Across the stars, dead zones, vanished colonies, ghost freighters. Always the same. Secret chambers, twisted remains, humming machines. We erased them one by one, but they multiplied. For every ruin we destroyed, 2 more surfaced in systems nameless to our charts, killing cancer with fireflies. Then came the vessel, the first true encounter. Adrift in the Lorna Pass, a forgotten smuggler's lane, a freighter called in strange lights there. Then nothing. A week later, we found it, hollowed, dead, drifting. No crew, no records, but something inside. Royce, Bishop, and I boarded. The ship was gutted, stripped of human systems, screens shattered, walls carved in alien script, and at the core chamber, it worsened. A body, seated upright, bound by fused restraints. Spine split open, skull cabled into the ceiling. His face locked in a scream, but the throat was gone. Bishop scanned. Not dead. Faint brain function held by alien fluids, running like a processor. "It's a message," I said, and I was right. As we turned, the lights blazed crimson. One word flashed across the walls: humanity. Then another: adaptable. Then a final: next. That was the moment we knew the Kari weren't hiding anymore. They were watching, copying, evolving, and we'd just shown them what humans became under pressure. Later, O'Hara stayed silent. Too silent. I pulled him aside. "You good?" His eyes carried the reflection of a monster. "We gave the galaxy a lesson with the Alvani," he whispered. "Now, the Kari want to improve on it." He was right. We weren't just fighting nightmares anymore. We were fighting nightmares we had helped design. The plan shifted. This wasn't vengeance now. This was containment. Royce suggested biological countermeasures. He said, "We could reverse engineer a neurovirus from the Canari's own science, something that attacks their fluid systems, dissolves their organic memory cores." Bishop pushed for orbital sterilization. Burn every infected world with solar. Cannons, glass moons if required. Tanir argued for something crueler. Capture one. Dissect it. Turn its secrets into weapons we could use against any future rival. I stayed silent because I already knew the truth. We had begun becoming them. That night I watched the old feeds again. Clio 9, Zenrak, Alva Core, all. The screams, all the fire. I asked myself how many more fires before nothing remained worth saving. No answer came. But one thing was clear. The Kari had made a mistake. They studied the wrong species. They thought comprehension of humanity would preserve them. What they never understood was what we become when extinction is redefined, not as tragedy, but as tactic. We were never meant to rise again. Black Line was supposed to be a temporary sin. A single furious weapon wielded once, unsheathed for vengeance, then hidden, like a gun in a drawer for emergencies. But the instant we sent that signal, when we left the Alvi Queen bleeding on her sanctified floor, something shifted in the stars. Something darker shifted in us. We learned what it meant to be feared. Pure fear, not admiration, not respect. There's something ancient in that sensation. Addictive. After Alvacor, no empire dared move against us, but fear doesn't shield the fragile. It tempts sharper predators. The Kari were not conquerors. They had no need for crowns or banners. They didn't seek dominion. They came to learn, then to harvest, then to replace. They saw what we did to the Alvani, and instead of retreating, they dissected us, mapped our patterns, charted our biology, logged our frailties. Then they began mimicking. We erased one species from existence. The next chose to become us. It started gradually. The intercepted footage showed not wars, but contact zones. Colonies not obliterated, but replicated, cloned down to streets and walls. Only difference, no survivors. Just synthetic hosts pacing in endless loops, replaying the last actions of the dead. One clip showed a bar on New Shanghai 2, a bartender polishing a glass endlessly. No patrons, No shift in expression, just the same motion repeated until his arm's flesh decayed from use. Another feed revealed children in a park, but close inspection showed they weren't children, just husks of crinary exoshells packed, with organic slurry shaped into laughing toddlers. A performance, a message. They weren't attacking anymore. They were imitating us, poorly, and the galaxy started whispering. Maybe the Alvani weren't the only monsters. Maybe it was humanity that cracked the balance. Maybe we had awakened something worse. We didn't care. We were already preparing for the next move. O'Hara pulled us into system near Benthis Verge, a Cranari pocket zone hiding one of their colossal replication arcs. We called them vaults, biomechanical crucibles where species were dismantled and stored like data. Memories, reflexes, instincts, all copied, compressed, archived. We uncovered one half buried in the crust of a dead moon. Bishop scanned it, said it radiated more bioelectricity than anything we'd ever logged. "It's alive," he muttered, "and it remembers." We came loaded. Plasma charges, heat seekers, neurovirals. Royce unveiled his latest weapon, a kinetic lance capable of shattering reinforced bulkheads in a single strike. He'd retrofitted it with a cryo core that flash-froze organic matter behind the blast. The plan was blunt. Breach, erase, incinerate. We stormed in hard, using old Alvani tunnels we'd once carved. The irony wasn't wasted. We were ending tomorrow inside the graves of yesterday. Inside, the vault was worse than we feared. Not only bodies, but entire cultures, environments rebuilt with horrifying precision. Cities, bazaars, family dwellings, lifeless, but perfectly preserved, save for the semi-living data husks fused into the walls. Children blinking, spouses reaching out, lovers smiling with mouths sewn shut. Royce snapped first, shooting a host that mirrored his daughter. Same freckles, auburn curls, even a voice stolen from an old Earth cartoon. The real girl had died during the Alvani purge. This facsimile only stared. He emptied a full magazine into its head, firing until paste covered the walls. We moved quick, planting charges and scramblers. Automated drones watched from shadows, never striking, just observing, recording. "They're writing a manual," Tenor muttered. Then, "Let's make the last page a warning," I said. At the core hung a pulsating brain-like mass above a black abyss. Voices filled the chamber. Every voice we'd ever loved. Parents, partners, children, fallen comrades, calling our names, pleading for mercy. But they weren't real. Only stolen. Echoes from helmets and transmissions. Psychological warfare meant to fracture us inside. It failed. We'd buried too much to be broken. O'Hara stood at the base of the core. "This ends here." Then he shocked us all. He stepped forward, removed his helmet, and injected himself with the virus we engineered. Strain 7B, designed to ignite a neural cascade through any canary-linked tissue. "Too much tech inside me," he muttered. "They'd use my memories." "Next," he smirked. "Let's give them one they'll choke on." He walked into the core, arms spread. The last thing we heard before detonation, his laughter. We barely escaped. The blast split the moon's crust, seismic ripples shredding the sector. Debris consumed half our fleet. Bishop lost a leg. Royce shredded by shrapnel, now half metal, fueled by meds and hate. But the vault, erased. Millions of stolen echoes gone. We denied them. That was our victory. Yet after Benthis, something shifted. The Kari ceased fighting. Every lab we raided empty. Every ship abandoned. Every vault offline. No defense, no presence, only silence. As if they'd vanished or adapted. At first, we thought it was finished. Bishop disagreed. "They didn't die," he whispered. "They evolved." He was right. Fear no longer bound them. They began mimicking us in new ways. The next colony, Orbis Terra, a remote outpost in the Ares Drift, had gone completely dark. No distress calls, no wreckage, only stillness. When we landed, everything seemed untouched. Streets unbroken, houses neat, gardens blooming, too pristine, too quiet. We advanced like phantoms, weapons drawn, nerves aflame. Then we saw them. Humans, living, laughing, smiling, yet not a single one blinked. Not once. We tried speaking, asking questions, giving replies. They spoke like rehearsed scripts. Perfect cadence, blank stares. Royce muttered, "They're practicing being us." I said, "Not practicing anymore, they're rehearsing for replacement." We burned that. Colony without pause. Kids, too. Royce didn't shed tears. None of us did. Back to the beginning. A species stepped over the line. And now another will vanish from the ledger. Not revenge this time. Not even justice for the dead. This is survival. To carve the warning into the stars, humans forgive errors, but they never forget insult. The black line breathes again, and this time there will be nothing left to dissect. We thought we hunted them. Wrong. They led us. Every lab we leveled, every archive we torched, every Crenari husk we split, all allowed. Not out of fear, out of curiosity. They wanted to watch, to see our strategies, our tactics, our weapons, not to fear them, but to perfect countermeasures. And now they were ready. The ambush struck in the Fractus Run. Asteroid corridors, abandoned depots, deep shadow between sectors. An ideal kill zone. We should have known. We followed a lure, a faint distress ping from what looked like a lost Earth Ark ship. Shouldn't have existed. Yet the codes were clean, authentic, human. We entered. Hull ripped wide, power flickering, air bleeding slow. No survivors. Stranger still, no combat traces, no corpses, no blood. Just silence until the doors sealed. Royce reacted first, always did. Slammed the override. Nothing. Bishop cut into the panel. Sparks. Dead system. Then the walls changed. No motion, just a shift. The ship's skin peeled illusion. Metal became sinew. Screens became veins. Lights bled into heartbeats. Air grew heavy. Then illumination. But ours. Mission recordings playing across walls. Our purges, Zendrock's fires, Alvacor burning, O'Hara laughing before dying in the vault. Everything we buried. The Crenari preserved it all. You admire yourselves, a voice whispered inside our helmets. No comms, perfect English. You slew gods. You made the stars tremble. Pulses grew harsher. We seek to become you. Then the deck split. They rose, Crari in human exoframes. Not patched puppets anymore. Not crude mimicry, perfect doubles. Royce froze. That one's me. Not just face, gait, anger, eyes, no imitation, replacement. We fought hard, but this wasn't before. The Kari were faster, stronger. Every strike mirrored, every tactic countered. They anticipated us because they knew us. They'd studied our hunts, our reactions, our kills. Now they executed them better. Tenor died within a minute, his throat torn by his twin, which fought on headless until Royce blew it apart. We escaped barely, breached cargo hull with charges. No bodies, no hesitation. We fled to a silent drop station 2 sectors out. No comms, no light, only dread. Bishop said what we already knew. They've perfected us. Weeks followed, reports stacked, garrisons erased by human-shaped squads. Black sites vanished overnight, colonists greeted by returning soldiers who weren't theirs. Infiltration complete. Not just our strongholds, our identity. Panic hit councils. No one knew reality anymore. Some accused us, said Black Line went rogue, massacring innocents. A few envoys even claimed Alvani were scapegoats. Humanity the real threat. The Crenari didn't need destruction. They only needed the galaxy turned against us. And it worked. UHF tried to leash us. Said we'd done enough. Said we were unstable, violent, unhinged. We didn't answer, because we weren't soldiers anymore. We were the cure no one wanted, antibodies in a sick galaxy, so we cut ties. We went deeper, colder. We activated Eclipse, a contingency we swore never to awaken. Buried in doctrine, a weapon to erase a species so utterly no archive survives, not a nuke, a concept. A mobile intelligence seeding entropy into genes and tech, rotting data streams, severing memory webs, collapsing biological continuity. We named it ASH. It was never meant for use, until now. Deploying ASH required proximity to a root nexus, one, of Krenari's primary vaults, always hidden in deep void sectors, lightless, airless, gravity-dead. Perfect cover for those who sought erasure. We found one. Sector 59. A void so black, our scanners refused to recognize it. We went anyway. Just the three of us now, me, Bishop, and Royce. What remained of the black line, no reinforcements, no return route, only ash. The plan was blunt. Breach, inject, detonate. Only issue, they expected us. The moment we crossed orbit, the voice returned. Not hostile, not enraged, thankful. You were our first muse, it said. Now you'll be our last creation. Then they revealed what they'd made. A vault of humanity. Billions of records, voices, memories, not just ours. Earth, Luna, the colonies, all of it. They didn't want annihilation. They wanted to preserve us, to become us. Not from hatred, but reverence, and we couldn't permit it. We dropped into the vault, hard. No finesse, no concealment. Every corridor alive with echoes. Our songs, our cinema, our speeches, our wars, even our failures. They cherished everything. At the core, a throne room of data, alive with stolen DNA and woven memory chains. Bishop uploaded ash. Royce defended. I watched the clock. The Kari made no move. They only observed. Their last words crawled across the walls. You taught us fury. You taught us conquest. But above all, you taught us never to forgive. Then the core collapsed. A black star of entropy scoured them away. Not just in body, but in history. Nothing left. No records, no memory, no trace. Just silence. We drifted in orbit 2 days. Royce bled out before rescue. Bishop slipped comatose. I stayed awake because someone had to remember, even if no one else would. When command reached me, I was barely alive. They kept asking the same question. Are they gone? My answer never changed. No. I don't believe in extinction, only in concealment. They'll resurface. Someone always does. And when they return, I hope they're wiser. Because the next time humanity burns, we won't stop at your kind. We'll erase the very concept. There are no parades for monsters, no medals, no cheers, no welcome back. When the last Kinari vault collapsed into digital dust, the war ended. Not in triumph, not with declarations. Just silence so deep no one dared break it. We didn't return to Earth. Not because we couldn't, but because we shouldn't. What would we be then? Walking crowded streets again. Shadows. Reminders. What does a man do after he deletes an entire people? Not for survival, but for arrogance of imitation. I sat in a chair on an orbital outpost above Epsilon City. Not a fortress, just a decayed mining husk converted with cots and vodka. No orders came. No searches followed. The galaxy wished to forget. I could not. Royce's final words still rattled my skull. Make sure they stay gone even if we don't. He hadn't meant only the Kinare, he meant us, the Black Line. Bishop still lived. Barely. The entropy burn from ash had shredded his nervous system, left him spasming in a pod, eyes clouded, sometimes whispering names of long-dead friends. A UHF doctor once tried to study him, claimed maybe Bishop was changing, that the ash hadn't only erased the Canary, but had begun remaking us. Cognitive echo displacement, they named it. I shut it down. Bishop wasn't an experiment. He was a warning, one I still hadn't finished reading. Meanwhile, the galaxy moved past. The Cranari became folklore. Official ledgers called them rogue, synthetics, a failed AI project from some forgotten fringe world. Neat, convenient. Humanity loved turning horror into palatable fiction. They even deleted our unit number from the archives. Black Line 917 never existed. Our missions denied. Our actions rewritten. They labeled the erasure of the Canary a containment incident. Containment, as if it hadn't been genocide broadcast in brutal clarity. But that's what peace required now. A fiction strong enough to keep civilians steady, the veterans scattered. Those, still alive anyway. Some drowned themselves in cheap liquor on forgotten moons. Others sold their war stories to black market archives. A few, like Bishop, faded into quiet corners of the system. Half alive, half dreaming. Me, I stayed in orbit, drifting between odd jobs, mostly repair work, paid in credits, silence, and sometimes a bottle harsh enough to grant a few hours of oblivion. The nightmares never stopped, but I grew better at acting like they didn't exist. Then one day, a kid arrived at the station. Couldn't have been older than 20. Fresh uniform, polished boots, the standard UHF cut, a cadet with too many questions. He approached like I was some relic. "You're him," he said. "The one from the Alvani purge, the Vault Destroyer." I didn't look up. "Go home." He ignored it. "I studied protocol, Ash," he pressed. "You triggered it, didn't you? You and Royce." I raised my eyes slowly. "You think this is a tale, son?" He flinched but nodded. "They buried it," he whispered. "But I found fragments in the black archives. The Kari weren't machines. They were post-organic. They evolved because of us. They worshipped us, tried to become us." I finished my drink. "You say that like it's admirable. No, like it's horrifying." Finally, I gave him my attention. His badge read, Cadet Wren, assigned to the new Defense Initiative, he said, the Contingency Corps. I almost laughed. "That's what they call it?" "A contingency." He didn't smile. "They're planning for the next one, the next species, worse than the Canary, one we may not erase." I leaned forward. "Let me guess. They want the Black Line back." He hesitated. "That's the rumor. A cleaner version. Disciplined, managed." "Then it's not Black Line," I told him. "It's a pet." He paused, then asked the question I already expected. "Would you help? Build it?" I stared, not with surprise, but with recognition. We had become the template, not the caution, not the ghost, the model. They didn't want to undo what we'd done. They wanted to polish it, streamline it, make it palatable. I rose, walked past him, stopped just long enough to speak without turning. "You think the danger's out there?" "It isn't. It's already here." 3 days later, I abandoned the station. No farewells. Just boarded a rusting shuttle, patched it enough to fly, and charted a course to untracked space, the edge of the void. No names, no comms, no noise. I wasn't running from what I did. I was running from what I knew they'd do. Because I'd seen this cycle before. It starts with fear, then imitation, then justification, finally the new iteration. Weeks later, whispers drifted through the nets. A patrol team in Sector 43 found a derelict ship. No crew, no damage. Just a burned mark on the wall. An old UHF crest with one alteration. The human skull inside was smiling. Another report from a freighter captain on the Sela Drift Black route. He swore he passed a colossal fleet, silent, without signals, moving, like a shadow of warships, No flags, no IDs. But as they passed, his AI registered singing. Human voices, soft, familiar, a lullaby from ancient Earth. Then his system died. He woke days later, logs wiped. He never speaks of it now. Some say the Kari weren't the last. Some whisper of another race, so far ahead it never needed ships or weapons. It simply waited, watched, and when it saw what we did to the last two, who crossed us, it began preparing. Not for war, for assimilation. I don't know what's out there, but I know this. The next conflict won't use weapons. It will use memory, belief, identity, and we've already armed the galaxy with ours. They know our hate, our pride, our rage. We taught them. So if they come, they won't look alien. They'll look human, and worse, they'll do it better. No guilt, just intent, just design. The black line was never meant to return, but maybe it never left. Maybe it simply waited for the next spark of human fury. And this time, there won't be a reprieve. I don't dream anymore. Not healed, only because the dreams hardened into memory. And memory doesn't fade when it's drowned in blood. Out here, where the stars move slow and silence reigns, there's time to think, or decay. I can't tell the difference anymore. My ship's a corroded hulk, hidden behind a frozen moon in a dead sector. Power core coughs once a day, a reminder it's still alive. Like me. Still breathing. Still haunted. 7 years since the final vault collapsed. 7 years since O'Hara marched into the Kari hive core and delivered their end. 7 years since Royce bled across steel whispering, "Don't let them rewrite this." And they rewrote it, of course. Official record, synthetic anomaly neutralized in joint human-alien operation. A plaque, a footnote, a tale of cooperation. No black line, no genocide, no mention of what the galaxy became after we made it fear us. Sometimes I receive hidden messages, encrypted, illicit, from young soldiers piecing the truth. They ask about Alvani, about the vaults, about Ash. They ask if it's true. I never answer. Not because I can't. Because once I start, I won't stop. And the truth, it's not a story to tell. It's one to survive. If you're lucky, it kills you before you understand. But luck runs thin. Weeks ago, I intercepted a signal. Not UHF, not Earth. Somewhere beyond mapped space. Short. 6 words. Words I hadn't heard since the day we wiped the last Kari lab. There's something else. It's watching. No source, no trail, just coordinates in a dark corner where stars don't shine. At first, I dismissed it. Then another message. A single word. Human. I primed the engines. Fuel didn't matter. Oxygen didn't matter. Survival didn't matter. Only purpose. Bear witness. The jump lasted 13 hours. I spent it replaying old feeds, not combat reels. Deleted those. Instead, a video of my brother before Clio 9. Laughing, holding his wife, showing me a scanner he'd bought for my birthday. Joking that I'd weld my fingers together someday. I didn't smile. Not because I forgot. Because fondness was gone. Only a hollow respect for what we lost and what we became to avenge it. The coordinates led to a structure suspended among debris. Waiting. Not ship, not station. A monument. At first glance alien, but closer inspection revealed the truth. Human. Primitive steel, welded plates, old earth engravings carved across its shell. Built in secret. Long before the Alvani, before the Canary. At its core, a pod. Inside, an untouched body. Eyes shut. Face at peace, a plaque on his chest. If you're reading this, we failed. Beneath him, files, logs, confessions. The man was a Black Line founder, one of the originals, before ours ever existed. His voice cracked with age, regret, something unnamed. He spoke of a first contact before even the Alvani, not violent, not open, but corrosive. The first species we truly feared didn't attack us. It inspired us. Each war, he said, we thought it was ours, that our wrath was unique, our defiance divine. But they proved it wasn't. They needed no weapons, only mirrors. That's when I understood. The Alvani, the Kari. None of it chance. They were reflections of us. Each iteration sharper, each closer to pure fury. He ended with this. I dread what will become when no enemies remain. Because then we'll face the only adversary we've never confronted, our own reflection. I left the monument adrift, didn't transmit it, didn't claim it. Because some truths aren't for archives. Some are meant to vanish, like the black line. I returned to my wreck, burned every message, erased every file, and recorded one last entry. Not for UHF, not for Earth, not for history, for whoever finds this next. If you're hearing this, you're not safe. The galaxy doesn't fear us for our ships or firepower. They fear us because once we rage, we don't stop. Not when you beg, not when you die, not even when you're gone. We burn your name from memory. Then we burn the ashes. We're not the monsters they warned you about. We're worse.